everyone. This is Chris Ryan, the founder of Day 180. Today we're talking about a race to the holidays session. I know this is an interesting time of year. Um, Today being one of the last weeks, many schools have already started their winter break, and I anticipate others are going to be shutting down here for the next couple weeks. And you all deserve a lot of time off and time away from your email inboxes. And I hope you have a chance to take that. Today, I'm going to cover a couple points. Our agenda today is, it looks something like this. We are covering this timeline, where we are in this point in the year. We'll talk about developing and communicating a baseline for your data. Talk about some first year tips, a kind of a continuation of some ideas and thoughts that I've shared over the course of the year. And then finally, our next stop being the 100-day celebration in February. I want to talk for just a second about this time of year. We are approaching the mid-year point in a way that when it comes to data and considering your application use data, your software use data, you're about midway. You should have reached kind of stride in the classroom and identified where you may, identified some of the products that may be delivering really well for you, or others that may be questionable. As you start to look and socialize some of this information, you should be able to find some really important takeaways. And that's really what I'm going to focus on today, as we kind of talk about what it means and where you're collecting this information, and what you're going to do with it, who you're going to share it with. So you think about the start of the school year. There's very little. You have all your applications purchased, they're ready to go. You're using it. Teachers are expectations of what they're using, what the students will access. You get about into August. You kick things off. It's kind of is the starting point. It's what gives you a glimpse at what the start of the year looks like, and at capacity, what that could look like. What you might start to draw your own expectations as to what you can think this may look like in the year, over the course of the year. By November or so, you could take another data point and start to pull that together. And then now, so we're at this holiday point in late December, and you should be pretty confident in looking back at the data points, those 3 data points, to make some important decisions. So what I want to do is kind of walk you through a process that the district can use to put this plan together. And as I'm sharing with you this concept, there's kind of 3 steps you might want to really spend some time with, and that's defining the data points, using multiple data points, using those 3 that I had mentioned, and then really engaging your leaders. And I know that sometimes it's an exhausting process, and in some cases, I talk with districts that have someone that loves this stuff and really is excited by it. I think when we do show our leader, our team members, and our other leaders in our district, they can be excited about this too. It's just not always fun pulling all this information together and then helping identify what some of that use may look like. So what I'm going to do is walk you through an example. I have a district, some data points that I'm going to walk you through, and it does follow this example of August, November, December data. So there's 3 data points. The idea of defining what those data points are, you're looking at student logins of rostered students. So this column here and these numbers that we're looking at, the color coding corresponds to 75% or more users, which are rostered users that log into the service at a rate of 75% or more, are green. 50% or more are yellow. 25% are this orange, and then red is this below 25%. So think of this as rostered students, the total number of rostered students, and the percentage of students that are actually of the rostered group who's actually logging in and using these products. So that's the defining the data point, which is really an important understanding for you as leaders to go back and begin this journey of describing how you may want to make changes to the application mix. These applications, really every district is going to have a different mix. It's just like a corporation and all the products that they might use, or I have no bias toward one product or another. What you'll see, it may look similar to yours, If anything, this should trigger your ideas as to what might yours look like. If you think about this, this is at the front end of the year. You have one product that's used 75% or more of the students that are rostered. Those numbers being 1, 3, 4, and 209. That's early. Really, not much assumptions you can make. Things that are used that are at capacity, maybe don't need much training. Teachers using it, students accessing it. There's definitely some takeaways to be had here. In that, working with your leaders, helping them visualize that. So they need to understand what that is. We're going to look at 3 data points along this way. And then as you socialize and bring this back in, I'm going to go back to those 3 points that I made. This first piece is defining it. So I just told you what you're looking at in the color coding. And then, looking at these 3. So with the comparison. So the first one was 1, 3, 4, and 209 total of applications. These numbers are applications that meet this category, these criteria. By November, you're looking at 4, 7, 11, and 292. So there's more applications overall. Overall, there's more applications. It went from 218 apps to 315. And in December, it goes to 334. So this may be an indication that you could consider some policy changes, or if you don't want as many things being added to your rostering solution, maybe there's an important takeaway that leaders can have from that. This is looking now at 4. So we have 4 in that 75% or more category, 7 and 50%, and at 25%, 11 and 292 in that below 25%. This is the utilization of the rostered students, what percentage actually logged in since the start of the year. This is you can see a progression. It went from the August numbers to the November numbers, and now we're going to look at the December numbers. So 4, 8, 13, and 307. So there's more applications that have been added. These products have stayed relatively consistent for this district, but the numbers, the cut numbers, maybe there's some takeaways that each of the districts and other districts may have different. They may feel that 50% of rostered users is logging in is really strong. That may be the case in some places. In other places, they may want that number closer to 80%. And if it's falling below that, are we doing something wrong? Are the expectations set differently? And should we consider other avenues for certain products or delivery of certain products? Perhaps it's training, and there's other decisions that can be made from that. So this is looking at the percentage of students. There's a whole different analysis you could do, and that's by using and looking at the teachers. It's a different conversation, but it's certainly possible. You have the data when you put it together like this. It really does help drive that conversation in a way that's productive. And really, what we want you to experience with this is with the process and the Day 180 process is that you're pulling information. This is information you have access to. Someone in the district has access to this. Organizing it in a way that you could then socialize it with your team and make some really strong decisions. So what I'll focus on I've reiterated this throughout each of the sessions that I've posted and any of the videos that you'll see throughout the year. But continuing that strong baseline, the idea of building that license baseline and commonality among the data points that you collect this year is important. You're doing this baseline, which will be valuable next year when you start to look at this, and even more decisions you can make. The idea of being specific around product price, use, and then being consistent. And I think these messages are really important. This idea of the strong baseline over time, thinking about what it will look like next year and the years beyond. It should help you think that this year you can make decisions in this current year, but what might that actually look like next year? And as you're making those decisions, building on that next year and using that in new decisions. The specificity, that product detail, connecting product and price. I haven't shown price in this example. This was more about use overall, which in many ways, use equates to time and that time that the students are spending in these products is the appropriate time, it's the appropriate teacher amount of time. Does it meet your expectations? Can you connect with the strategic priorities you're putting out, and that you're establishing with all of your community? And then finally, the consistency. So this message, just the concept that future you is going to thank you for being consistent with this. So you do this in 23, 24. You continue the same process, same data points, same elements. Your leaders will be familiar with it. The decisions you're making become more valuable over time. These decisions can compound, and that's something that really that compounding gain and benefit that you get. It's like a snowball effect. So the consistency does pay off, and that's really important. But that brings us to the end of the session here. The next session that I have scheduled is in February, February 24. That'll be our 100-day celebration. Hopefully that gets you. This is something that many districts have. Teachers are working in now. Those next steps are really. It really at that point in the year you'll have you could do another data point, but you should be making some decisions before your budgeting time, so that your renewals will start showing up. Vendors are going to start sending you their renewals in January. Those are going to start hitting desks. So that's an important reminder for you to just stay with it. And if there's any questions, or if anyone would like to follow up, please send me an email, drop me out a line. I'd love to hear or connect with you. And share some of these ideas, or go deeper, or help you position yourself as best you can to make the most of those 180 days that you've got. So thank you. Have a great holiday.